Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about CJ Mosley opting out for the 2020 season and what that means for the New York Jets. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, maybe TikTok if that's still around. And also you can subscribe to the podcast. New episodes drop every Monday. You can call in, leave me your questions, and I'll try to get to them on the show. So it's been a tough go for CJ Mosley and the New York Jets in his first year plus with the team. Last year was really good. It looked like the best player on the field in week one for 3 quarters. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but in that game, he had a huge pass deflection, a pick six. He was phenomenal, was a key factor. Game completely derailed when he left the field. Then on top of that, he comes back against the Patriots, plays like another quarter or two, and unfortunately they shut him down after that. Now, he signed a big contract, $85 million before the season last year, and he decided that he is not going to play in 2020. Now, before I get into the impact on the field for the New York Jets and what they could do, I just want to say that I completely support his decision, or any other athlete's decision who decides to opt out in 2020. They have to do what's best for them. They have to do what's best for their family, and I completely understand not wanting to take the risk in 2020. No harm, no foul. With that being said, it is going to be a hole missing on that inside of the Jets defense. You lose Jamal Adams at safety. Now you're losing your leader of your defense in CJ Mosley. It's going to be tough. So the Jets are getting some cap relief on top of this, actually. His cap hit's going to be $10 million, which means they could save about $6 million, and his contract is going to slide a year so that it's going to end in 2024 instead of 2023. So now what do the New York Jets do at the inside linebacker position? Well, for one, Avery Williamson should be back and healthy. Good thing they didn't move on from him at inside linebacker. And keep in mind, the last 2 years, in 2018 and 17, when he was healthy, he was really solid. He had a 72.8 Pro Football Focus grade his first year with the Jets in 2018. Year prior, 80.2 PFF grade with Tennessee. He had 120 tackles and 92 tackles in the last 2 years that he was healthy. Obviously, missing him last year was tough for that Jets defense, but having him back is going to be it's going to be big for this team, because that is someone who you can rely on as your number one inside linebacker. So that's one player who's going to be on inside linebacker. We know he's going to start. After that is when things get a little bit tricky. You can have a few options and a couple of good ones, and I'll start with the ones that I'd feel most comfortable with. One is Patrick Onwuasor. Very tough name to pronounce. I think I said it correctly. But he is coming over from the Baltimore Ravens, and he's just 2 years removed from a 90-plus tackle season. Last year was okay for them. He had a 48.3 Pro Football Focus grade. He is someone who was CJ Mosley's running mate, but he has starting experience on a really good team, and Joe Douglas knows him, so I think he could be able to fill in and be okay in that role. Obviously, none of these guys are CJ Mosley caliber players, but I think they could be able to hold their own, him being one. Next up on the list is James Burgess, who I actually thought did a pretty good job last year filling in for the injured Williamson and Mosley. So Burgess had 80 tackles in 10 games for the New York Jets. He had a 54.9 Pro Football Focus grade. Again, I think he was pretty solid last year. Is he great? No, but I don't think you necessarily need two great inside linebackers. I think you can get by with Williamson, who's above average player, and someone like Burgess, who is fine. You also have Blake Cashman as an option, who's a 5th-round pick from last year. Flashed a little bit, but also struggled at points. He had a 49.1 Pro Football Focus grade last year. He started 5 games, and he had 40 tackles. Earlier on in his first couple of games, he looked good. He has some pretty good speed, and there are some traits to get behind. He was just a little inconsistent. Maybe another year under Greg Williams can help him out. And if he could stay healthy is another big thing. He had injuries in college, and that kind of transitioned to the next level for now. We'll see what he's able to do in 2020, but he is certainly an option for the New York Jets. Then there's Neville Hewitt, who had a 40.3 Pro Football Focus grade, started 12 games, had 75 tackles. He's probably my least favorite option, but you could get by with him. The Jets had a top 10 defense, last year with Neville Hewitt as a starting inside linebacker for a majority of their season. I would prefer them to go with Avery Williamson and either one of Onwuasor or James Burgess. I think that would be your best bet, but they could get by with Neville Hewitt starting alongside Avery Williamson if they had to. So the Jets have cap space now. Maybe that gives you some money to add an additional player. Who that is, I'm not exactly sure. Jadeveon Clowney, a polarizing free agent, is still available. I'm not necessarily a big fan of his game. Some people are, but maybe you look to add a player like that. or maybe you're looking to add wide receiver depth, you could do some things with this cap space that was now created from CJ Mosley. Again, I really wish he was able to play for the Jets this year. It stinks that he's not going to be on the field for essentially a second year in a row. He only really played that first game against the Buffalo Bills, but his contract is going to slide, and he should be back with the Jets in 2021. Again, I think that people are overreacting a little bit to this with Mosley and Jamal Adams being gone. I've seen people say that they're going to be a 4-12 team. I don't really think so. Their defense was 10th overall last year. You traded for Bradley McDougald in the Jamal Adams trade, who is a fine starting caliber safety. And last year you had Avery Williamson for 0 games and CJ Mosley for 1 game. So I don't really think my expectation is really changing all that much. I still think they're a 7-9 team, or maybe 8-8 on the high end. But I don't expect the defense to go from 10th to 25th or anything like that. I think they're going to be around the top 15 defense. Between the 10 and 15 mark would be my guess. They have a much tougher schedule, and I don't necessarily think that their defense is just going to fall off a cliff. I understand Jamal Adams was a key piece of the defense. Same thing with CJ Mosley. Having both those guys on the field makes you better. But I think you can get by at those positions because they're not really high-end impact positions. If you lost both starting corners, then maybe we're having a little bit of a different conversation. But for now, my expectation's still the same. I think this is a 7-9 team, 8-8 team, somewhere in that range, and I think they're finishing probably around 12th overall in defense, which is still pretty solid. Let me know what you think in the comments down below or on social media. Thanks so much for tuning in again. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll talk to you next time.